Now, the idea that DNA is going to change in the current structure of things, I agree with. Beyond that, it's all speculation. And again, even if DNA changed to the point where its vibrational intensity suddenly flipped on all of these switches, I don't know that that's so good for the manifestation of a human body. It's not as though we're talking about stem cells. We're talking about a fully formed body where your DNA participates with your consciousness in forming your face. So, for instance, some of our language expresses this. There's an old Russian saying that by the time you're 40, you have the face you deserve. By the time you're 50, you have the face you've earned. By the time you're 60, you have the face you're going to carry with you into the next life. Now, given that kind of expression, which is currently all around the planet in various forms of language, one wonders what would happen if all of our DNA suddenly switched on. Could our puny little controlled minds deal with it? I think not. End of statement.
Okay, got it. This had me thinking about this man that I've been in touch with, Jerry Zeitlin, and genetics and how we came to be on this planet, but we won't have time to go into this in this last half hour that we've budgeted. So I have a couple more things to add from other friends. One of our readers in the zone had asked you if you have any word on when the physical pole shift, if there is one, is likely to occur. End of question.
If there's going to be one, the data at this point points to beyond 2013. So currently our Terra model suggests that we're going to have all kinds of what we can think of as regional or localized changes, increase in earthquakes, strange weather, alteration in the tidal flow, and so on, that will increase all the way through 2012. We also show that there's going to be a solar interaction. This solar interaction appears to have a bulge, curiously, in the October 2011 period. We then have another data bulge around the solar action that occurs from 2012, but it's more acute in May of 2013. And I suspect that May of 2013 brings the turning point, the actual point at which we'll all be able to say, yes, we're now leaving the magnetics, the increased magnetic area of the Milky Way galaxy. However, there is still yet more data, and now manifesting reality in the form of scientists in Russia and other countries that are writing about this, that indeed May of 2013 may represent a wholly new existence for the solar system, in that could be the actual period of time that we become captured by the Milky Way galaxy. Never again to go up and down in the periphery of the galactic magnetic wave, and wherever we are then ends up being where we will be in perpetuity. Because bear in mind that we are not part of the Milky Way galaxy until sometime in 2013. We've been in the process these past millennia of being in galaxy Sagittarius Dwarf B, and that has been, that whole galaxy is being consumed by the Milky Way. It's merging into it. So we indeed are going into a more energetic period of time, whereas in the past, Earth has gone into these periods of high magnetism and then come out of it. There's some suggestion that we may not come out of it this time. We also have all of the other stuff within there about humans, and the other entities seem to have a corresponding or parallel train of thought that humans indeed are subjected to vast quantities of energies that we would not normally otherwise get, and that they're there in perpetuity. So the idea of, say, the golden cycle that people talk about, and some of the other things in the past, it all kind of makes sense that the long count may end on December in December of 2012, because shortly thereafter we're in an entirely different galaxy, and the Mayans may indeed have known that that would be the approximate point at which we would become seized forever by the Milky Way, and that alters everything. As I understand it, from my reading with some of the Russians, even astrology will change for us after that period of time, because if they are correct and we never ever proceed beyond that point and we stay part of the Milky Way galaxy, then no star arrangement that has ever existed in the past will occur beyond that point, and will be into an entirely different astrological realm. End of statement.
This is really highly interesting, because I have looked at that myself when I wrote my book Light Seeds, and I agree with it, and this is why it's even for me as an astrologer now pointless to point beyond that time, although I've just linearly continued to say if it was so, as the ephemeris says, we have Pluto in Aquarius past 2025 and so on. But these things may make absolute no more sense. So I agree with you here. We have to be very open in our quest. And again, like Krishnamurti said, keep in mind that the unknown cannot be measured by the known. So we're right back at that beginning point where we were. I wanted to ask you to end this now, as we have maybe another 20 minutes. If you would like to take the opportunity to give us, let's say, a sneak preview of your next, potentially last report, but your next report, which is volume 2 of the Shape of Things to Come, if you wish.
Sure, I've got maybe 9 or 10 pages of it already written up, and perhaps another 30 or 40 pages of notes, so I can go into some of it. It again reinforces all of the immediacy data, and the shorter term data is reinforcing the idea of social chaos in the central bank and warfare model. So the closer you are to the United States, beginning in really now, but accelerating from October 25th onward, the closer you are to the central core of the United States and its political and powers that be ruling class, the more chaotic it will be. So those individuals that want to have some level of safety or a more pleasant life can take that as a hint and get themselves as far away from the chaos that way as they can. Not to say that they might not go to some place that will still have disruptions, but it probably won't be as bad as it will be here. We have data, for instance, indicating that under the cover of the beginning of the rebellion or revolution here in the United States, which is to say in January or February we start going into an active mode. Although anyone who reads the media now, especially with these tea parties and people showing up at anti-administration rallies with weapons, gets the idea that things are very tense here. It will become extremely so in January or February as the next phase of the swine flu is let loose on the planet. They plan to mutate and develop between now and January a much more lethal variety of the swine flu, and we're just calling it swine flu for convenience. It's no longer pertinent that it's H1N1 even. But that's going to come into play. There's going to be a response from the public in a refusal to participate in the vaccines on a level that the powers that be had not anticipated. There will be repression, oppression, suppression in the United States that will start at that level, that will also include, as I say, under the guise of all of this chaos, there appears to be the opening of inter-scene warfare, intertribal warfare between the powers that be that will occur in January or February. So I'm actually looking for a wave of assassinations to occur with various parties picked out as the scapegoats, but nonetheless the assassinations will be one level of the powers that be striking back at their enemies within their own powers that be organizations. This may include attacks on Obama in January or February. If they are not careful, that may be successful attacks, but the real repression for the populace in the U.S. starts in that period of time and escalates all the way through to July. Now, curiously, we have a blip of data that suggests on July 7th of this year, or of 2010, the tide will turn noticeably against the powers that be in the central bank and warfare model, and the revolution, if you will break out in force here in the United States. That revolution will spread throughout the rest of the planet, although it's not really, saying spread is really a misnomer, because it's going to originate in various spots all around the planet pretty much independently, just all coincidentally at the same time. So in a sense, though, it'll be much more acute here because we've been repressed longer. The good part of all of this is that during that chaos is when we expect to see a lot of this stuff break loose and a lot of information that will come out that will affect the outcome of the revolution later in 2010, and things will calm down slightly as 2010 goes into 2011.